This is a little whooshed off utility knife. It's a little bit bigger than a paring knife. It's very dull. Um, it can't cut paper very well. I can feel a couple of tiny nicks on the end of the blade. And so I'm going to try to get rid of those nicks before I sharpen it. Otherwise, if you put an edge on it, you're just fighting to get those same nicks out anyway. I still have a few up here. This is where the knife gets abused the most anyway, when people cut with it. So that's typically where your nicks show up. Or down at the heel when people chop with the knife. Sometimes look at them there. Okay. A little bit right there. This is a 220, just a old pad I keep laying around. This is 1,000 grit, and I just do that to make that edge just a little. It pays off once you get your edge on there. It's going to be nice and even if you look at it with a microscope or something like that. So now I can run my thumb up and down there real easy, and I can't feel any chips, or my fingernails not digging into any rough spots at all. So I think I got all the chips off my gear. Okay. This is a stone I got the other day at the flea market, and you can just barely read there. It says made in the United States. It looks like it's a Norton. It might not be. There's a couple other makers. And just some mineral oil I stick on there. Put it in the ultrasonic cleaner and got most of the stuff off of it. So I'm going to try to sharpen a knife with it. It looks like a Norton India, like a fine stone, which is probably about 400-600 grit, something like that. So I don't usually do this on this small of a knife or something if I don't know what the bevel is, but a lot of times we'll take a magic marker and just mark the edge, and then I'll put it really lightly, like on a stone, just so I can see maybe what the bevel is. Let it dry, and that's probably about a 15-degree angle, which would be normal. And I look at it and I can see that it did not take away any of that magic marker, so I'm going to go a little more narrow. It's about 9 degrees, and I can see it's starting to take it off. In my opinion, 9 degrees is a little, especially for a whooshed off. Yeah, it's showing like it's about 8 or 9 degrees per side, which is a little. It would make a nice slicey knife, but the edge won't hold it very well. Anyway, the more narrow degrees per side, the sharper you can get the knife, but the less the edge will hold up. The wider you make that, the more durable the edge, but it won't be quite as sharp. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take it about here. You can see that. That's the degrees I'm going to try to hold. And keep the stone from slipping around so much. Let's see what I got here. There. I'll just use that. That's a little piece of shelving stuff. So, okay. Got to hold the same angle. And it's just muscle memory from sharpening on a whole bunch of knives. And I'll do the whole length of the blade probably 3 times on one side. At this point, I'm not even looking for a burr because I took so much metal off, but this might not be how you see it done on, if you do a lot of YouTube surfing on knife sharpening. But it's a good, efficient way. I'm just putting pressure on where my fingers are riding on the blade. In this case, it's obviously it's the whole stone, but like on a larger stone, I would just have it there too. I don't put a lot of pressure on it. Still haven't got a burr yet. And I can do it this way, you know, just do it the exact same way with the other side. I probably should, just for... Sometimes I'll move the stone around. Trying to get up there. This is hard to bevel, and it's always a dull spot back there, so a lot of times I'll go straight up and down. A lot of times I'll do this at a 45 for the majority of the blade, then just on the heel I'll go there so that I can sharpen up as close to that bolster as I can. You see it's starting to build a swarth up. That's what that black is. It's okay. It's perfectly fine to have on there. Because I threw this thing in some detergent and an ultrasonic bath, I mean, the whole stone was black. You could be told it was a Norton, India, by the way it was. This stone's kind of thirsty, so it's soaking up this oil. Look at that. That's a little piece of steel burr that came off this. So, and I can feel that right here it's getting, I'm starting to bring up a burr. So at that point, add a little bit more oil there, rub it around. I'm going to start taking it a little more carefully. I'm going to start going edge leading. See light reflecting off the edge right there. I don't think the camera could pick it up, but it'll tell me that it hasn't reached the apex here, and it hasn't reached an apex here. It's reached right there, so I know the areas I need to concentrate on a little bit, and I'll modify my pressure there just a hair. This is a lot easier with a larger stone, but I'm doing a small stone just because you could sharpen with a brick if you have to. But there's just something cool about doing it old school. And this old stone was from an estate sale at the flea market. Some old man probably had it out there. It's probably 50, 60 years old. And it's just kind of neat to bring some life back into it. Yeah, I can feel the rough spot right there. I can feel that it hasn't apexed yet. little I got a little microscope too, and I'll take a picture of that for you in a second when I get the... This is a whooshed off knife. It's very good steel. It's probably got a Rockwell hardness of, I think they're 58 plus or minus 1. And it's a really good German steel. They've got it down to an art. It's not as hard as a lot of the Japanese steels, not by a long shot. But even a harder steel, even a better alloy, if it doesn't have a good heat treat, it's just junk. And the Germans, at least the whooshed offs and Zwilling, the ones made in Solingen, Germany, you don't get any better heat treating than what they do. They, they'll cryo treat it. They'll hold it at this specific temperature for exactly this amount of time because they know the carbides are forming like this or that, and then they'll change the temperature, and then they'll soak it here and soak it there. They'll do it until it's perfect, till they can get the absolute most out of what that steel's capable of. They're really good at it. Okay, that's starting to feel pretty sharp. And the only reason I go after I get that apex, you see I went back to going back and forth instead of just edge leading, because I didn't have a good edge along the whole thing. I didn't have it apexed along the whole thing. I just had it in a couple places. Sometimes I'll sharpen with a belt sander. I've got some belt sanders set up. If the blade's totally trashed, I'll get it 90% of the way with a belt sander, maybe even to an apex with the belt sander. Keep it nice and cool, use quality belts and all that, and then finish it on the stones. And that saves a lot of time. And it's literally how they do it at the factory. They don't take it from a blank to a knife on a stone. They take it from a blank on a grinder, and some of them may hand finish it, but I can tell by the scratch patterns on the new knives that they're belts. They're not. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually checking for a burr, because burr removal is the next step. So what I'm going to do is I felt a burr along the entire thing. The knife is fairly sharp now. I'm just going to remove the burr, and I'm going to do that with a couple of edge leading strokes, and then I'm going to use this strop, which I made out of an old piece of belt. I have much better strops all over the place, but homemade strop for an old vintage stone. So just a couple really light strokes in front to remove some of that burr. Just a little bit up there. And the stropping can remove the burr. But if you go into the stropping with a huge burr, you'll probably come out with a burr. You'll strop and refine the edge on a lot of the rest of the blade, but where that big burr was, you'll have reduced it some, but it'll still be there. And if you strop it long enough to get rid of that, you'll overstrop the rest of it. And by overstropping it, you'll take off all the little toothy edge. You can even actually make it a little duller than it came out. So this is almost completely removed. I almost don't feel anything. If I want to get real fancy, I got a block of this rock hard felt, and if there's any burr along that edge, this will feel it. You'll be able to feel it drag, and I feel just a tiny bit drag right there, and a tiny bit drag right there. But I think the strop can take care of that, so I'm done with the stone. With the same angle, and sometimes I'll do the strop, I'll do a little curly cue at the end, because if I go up like this, that tip can sometimes dig into that leather. So holding it that same angle, I pull down like this, then go up like that. So and I can actually feel, and I've got some green compound and I think some diamond emulsion spray on there. I'm not sure. Kind of looks like it. It's probably 2.5 micron paste on there. If it is diamond emulsion, that's some green compound. Now, the way I used to do it is I do 10 strokes each direction, and then the next I do 8 strokes, and then the next set I do 6 and 4, 2, 0, or 2 then 1 a few times. But now what I do is I've done so many more of them, is I strop until that drag that I feel right here and right here start to straighten out. Yeah, it's kind of hard to feel if you're a beginner and you're doing that. All right, that'll be pretty good. This isn't, again, this is only a very tip. This is already significantly sharper probably than you have any knife in your kitchen, but I'm going to go ahead and get a piece. Oh, got a piece of paper right here. Remember before, it wouldn't cut paper at all. It was, yeah, so sharp. Oh, fold it in half. That's enough. And that, again, that's just a single stone from dull cutting on your hand to pride of your kitchen. So, and that's probably about a 10 to 12 degree per side if you're interested in that, which means it's going to cut things like carrots and stuff very, very well. In fact, I'll go grab a carrot. Let's see how it cuts a carrot. Okay. So because I want to use this carrot later, I'll set it on a clean paper towel. I'll get some alcohol. I'll wipe the blade down. And we'll see how it cuts. Here's the thick side. So very little wedging, nice thin edge, good utility knife. Thanks for watching.